Hello there, this is Ajit Nawalkar, and in today's video we are talking about 4 questions that will help you make better decisions in life. It'll also help you coach anyone to make better decisions in life. If you're a life coach, this will be your toolkit or the way to help your clients think in a way that they could make decisions that will be more congruent to themselves and be able to create more progress in their lives. Decision making is one of the most difficult things to do when you're going through life. How many times have we stopped ourselves from being able to make a decision because we are too concerned if it's a right decision or the wrong decision, or where we are not able to make decisions because we just can't evaluate as to what is it that we should do? How many times have we worked with a client where they said, I just don't know what to do. Can you help me know what's the right answer? Decision making sounds easy, but decision making is probably one of the most difficult things to do in one's life. And that is why I wanted to explore the idea of decision making today with you. You see, we make 2 kinds of decisions in life. The first kind is the short-term decision making, and the second kind is long-term decision making. Short-term decision making means we are making a decision that will immediately impact our life, something that is in the near future, let's say within the scope of the next 1 year. Long-term decision making is more complicated. This is where we are asking ourselves questions that may be 5, 10 years into the future, like knowing what is it that I am building my career towards, what is it that I want to be, what is it that I want to pursue. Those are difficult questions, but they're on a longer frame of time, and hence they have to be thought differently. I think metaphorically, the best way I've found for somebody to know long-term and short-term decision making is this. If you are somebody who is evaluating long-term decisions, something that you are wondering about what happens in the long term, I would love to encourage you to think about it as a grandmaster thinks about their chess game. Will Smith, in one of his videos, was talking about how he was sitting down with somebody who was a grandmaster. And the grandmaster showed him one technique on how to really win the chess game. He said, Will, project into the future. Think about where you want your chess pieces to be in a few moves, or where would you like to place yourself a few moves from now, and then work backwards from there. This requires one to really project into the future without thinking about what the other player is going to do. The reason why the grandmaster suggests to play that way is because long-term decision making or long-term vision has very little to no consequences of what our understanding of the current world is. We don't know how the next 10 years are going to look like. We don't know what the next 5 years are going to look like, which means any decision that we make today has to come from our intuition. It has to come from us being able to project into the future and say, where is it that I will like to be? Not so much about what everybody else is doing. There needs to be no analytics in it. You can just simply lean into the future and say, that's where I would like to be in a few years from now. And that is how you want to think about your long-term decision making. Long-term decision making has to do with what I call connectedness or intuition. You're leaning into the greater source, into your own intuition to come up with an idea of where you are going into the future. I want to give you 2 questions that will help your clients really lean into the future and lean from their intuition instead of whatever fear or concern they may have of the possibilities or experiences of their past. The first question I have for you is, what if everything that was meant to happen was to happen because that was the journey? That I was to go through that to create who I need to be to lean into my future. You see, one of the big things that stops us from really projecting into the future is because we get so fearful of the outcome that may happen in the immediate future, and hence we don't believe that the long-term future is possible. But what if everything that happens is a part of the journey, is meant to happen so you become the person that you need to become to create the outcomes that you want to create? What if everything around you was designed so you can truly have the outcome that you want? This question is designed to release any of the concern that the person may have so they can fully understand that whatever they may design and aspire to, they can have. And anything that may happen as a part of the journey is just that, a part of the journey. The second question that will help your clients lean into the future, lean into their intuition much more easily is this. If I were to flip a coin and heads was one option and tails was the other option, heads was one of the future that I hope for myself, and the tails is another future that I hope for myself. If I were to flip a coin, let it fall, and cover it with my hands, What do I wish it fell to? Heads or tails? Whatever is your answer is your true heart's calling. It is what your intuition really is trying to tell you. The second one might be the rational thought trying to give you a more safe choice. What you don't want for your long-term possibilities is a safe choice. You want pure potential to really drive what is it that you're going to create in the long term. So that is long-term decision making. Project into the future, and if you're finding it hard to decide, see it as a journey or flip a coin. The second kind of decision making is short-term decision making. Short-term decision making is a lot more analytical, and so we tend to be a lot more in our heads. We tend to overthink and overthink and overthink what should be our right decision. We feel like our life depends on it, and so we constantly evaluate and reevaluate every option that is available to us. Let me give you a framework that will help you make a short-term decision. What you want to do as step one of this framework is identify what's important to you. Most of the times when we are trying to make a short-term decision, we are measuring it across really few variables. For example, as a life coach, very often your business decisions are based on two variables. Is it going to make me more money, or is it going to give me fame? And those two variables, while maybe a part of the equation, there's a lot more elements that are important for a coach or a coach to consider. Is it going to make you more money? Is it going to give you fame? Is it going to impact people's life? Is it going to make you happy? Do you feel like you can do this for 10, 20, 30 years and feel fulfilled? Is this something that truly drives joy for you? Is this something that you would like to do day in and day out? Would you like to learn more about this topic? You see, there are so many more variables for one to consider if somebody is trying to really build or decide if they want to be a life coach. But very often, we decided on very few variables. So the first step to make a good short-term decision, once you've identified all of the categories that are important to you, then you value rank each of the ideas against each category. And then you see which idea is really going to win, which is the idea that is going to have a greater probability of winning, where you will actually create success. Like long-term decision-making is a lot more like chess, short-term decision-making is a lot more like a card game. Any card game, you're playing probability based on the hand of the other person, based on the hand on the deck, and so forth. What is the probability for you to win? And that is exactly how short-term thinking works. Short-term thinking or short-term decision-making is about probability. So you want to find what are even the criteria, what are the different categories that you want to consider to know what is your probability of winning across most of the categories and most of the criteria for you to feel fulfilled about the action that you're about to take. A model that I use for businesses to be able to identify these things is called LERR. For the sake of another example, let me explain what that means. If you are making a business decision and you have, say, 5 ideas and you like all 5 ideas, you would go ahead and make 4 columns for 4 ideas. And on the last column or the first column, you will write LERR. L would be for leverage, E is for ease, R is for risk, and R is for return. And then you will take each of the ideas and rank them from 1 to 5 as to how much is your current business or your current reality already help you move. How easy it will be for you to execute, because if it's easy, you're going to actually do it. How risky is that idea? Because if it's a higher risk idea, you don't want to really chase that as your first idea. And then how much return can you expect from each of the ideas? The highest return will probably get your most attention. You will know the numbers intuitively for all 4 or 5 of the ideas that you're evaluating. And once you tally up the score, you will see which idea really has the highest score and hence the greatest possibility to win, and something that you should execute on immediately. If you want to take a deeper dive on how LERR works, I'm going to link it up below this video or somewhere up here for you to actually click on that video and watch it for later so you can really understand how LERR works. But generally, what you're doing in life and with your clients is helping them identify what are these criteria. For business is leverage, ease, risk, return, but in life it might be different. So you want to write down what are those criteria, and then based on that, you want to evaluate each one of them and see which one is the one that gets the highest rank and pursue that first, because it has the highest probability for you to get success in the way you've defined success. The second question I have for you that will help you make a better analytical decision, make a better decision on the short term, is something that I borrowed from Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss had in his book 4-Hour Workweek asked a question, something to this tune. What if this was easy? What would I do if I knew what I was about to pursue is going to be easy? You see, most of us are resisting an idea or not pursuing an idea because we have made it so complicated. We have made it so difficult for us to execute on it, and so we don't create a movement towards it. But what if we approach the same idea as an easy idea? What if universe was there to simplify it for you? You just have to ask how to simplify it for yourself. So if you wanted to start a podcast and you were not able to decide if I should start a podcast or not, you're probably thinking the complexity of the podcast. But what if it was easy? What would you do if that whole idea was just an easy idea to implement? You will find that because you're approaching it with comfort, the idea becomes easy. The execution steps become more visible to you, and so you can actually execute the idea a lot more easily. Anything in life, a difficult conversation, expectation of a raise, a conversation with your partner or your kids, when approached with ease, becomes easy. Because our minds are amazing, beautiful machines that can find ways to make everything easy. So those would be your 2 questions to pursue short-term decision making. The first question is define the categories that are important to you in that particular area of life, and then evaluate based on those categories to see which decision is more probable to give you the outcomes that you want. And the second question is, what if it was all easy? How would you approach it if something was easy so you can ease into a decision that feels right, feels easy to follow through on? So today we talked about the 4 questions that you can use to help you long-term decision making and short-term decision making. You can use these questions with your clients when you're coaching them for life, when you are helping them make the big and small decisions of life. Which among these questions you enjoyed the most? Which one was the one that was really helpful to you? Share with me in the comment section below. I'm sure you liked this video, so don't forget to hit that like button. Share it with a friend that can use this help in making better decisions. And if for some reason you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button so I can send you wonderful videos like this one every single week inside here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ajit Navlakha, and you're watching this on EverCoach.